War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. You are watching we'll be watching a live recording of the podcast from E2C Network known as the Auburn Experience with myself and Mr. Austin Scott. As usual, episode 3. We're excited to have y'all here. We'll be getting started with the recording here in about 5 minutes or so. But as has been the case, we want to get together and say hello to all of you that might be in the chat watching along, maybe talk a little bit about anything of interest to you all. We'll obviously do that after the recording, or I will, and we'll see if Austin can as well too. But that's going to be on the agenda for tonight. Austin, welcome.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me again. Glad to be back, and fun weekend in Auburn. Looking forward to talking a good bit about this past weekend, the upcoming weekend, other things going on in the world of Auburn, which is what we try to do on this show.
Now, you are a little bit under the weather. I can even hear it in your voice. How are you making it through this week?
I'm good. I'm feeling fine. Maybe the rain is messing with my sinuses a little bit. I don't know.
I think that's happening for a lot of people.
Not near as much rain yesterday as there was last week.
Now, I'm going to disagree with you because up here where I am, pull the curtain back for those of you that are watching, where I've been the last 2 days, and I'm actually in a different studio than I was yesterday because I'm trying out something different. But I'm up here in Decatur, and we had like floods up here today. So whatever you didn't have today, we got plenty of it up here in Decatur, Alabama.
Yeah, there was yesterday. It rained during the game, just a short shower, like right as the game started for like maybe 2 plays, but it was nothing compared to the week before when I felt like I was waterlogged from head to toe. So I'm ready for all this rain to be gone. I was telling my wife, it's just feels like these are rains we have in spring usually, but the fall has just been hit hard. So looks like we might be out of it soon, at least in my area, but we'll see.
It's one of those weird just cycles, it feels like, where a couple of years ago, I was talking to Jessica about this today and her family as well, about 2019, where it was just these scorchers of the century. Like every game was a low of 95.
Yeah.
The heat index was like the 120. I feel like that sounds like I'm joking, but that's how bad it was at times. So now we've switched from that time. So that next year we barely had football. We didn't even have tailgating. The next year was kind of like getting back to normal. And then this year it's just rain. Devin's here. Good to see you. Unbeaten Lakes talking about the 3-point underdog that we are to Penn State. I mean, are you shocked?
Is that what it is? I hadn't seen that yet. That doesn't really surprise me.
It doesn't shock me
much at all.
No.
I definitely didn't expect to be favored if that's what Unbeaten Lake was hoping.
No, I don't think after our performance last night, and Penn State looking okay. I would still say they're pretty sporadic, but yeah, it's kind of what you expect when you barely beat. I shouldn't say barely. You beat San Jose State much less than you were supposed to. So a 3-point underdog at home, I'll take that still. That's pretty good odds for me. I think. We're going to probably in this episode talk a little bit, obviously about the game, not some of the higher level stuff that we, or I guess lower level, meaning more focused analysis of what happened in the game. But we'll probably talk about Auburn playing down to opponents in their history, which seems to be across all sports. Maybe we'll hit kind of a preview for the first big game weekend, that being Penn State, obviously, and things you might want to be aware of. There were some ticket issues this week that Austin reminded me of. So that, maybe some construction updates. We'll see what we get into that. And we're also going to probably hit you guys with some Auburn basketball schedule talk, because that's at least new and exciting. And so if the games continue to be this frustrating, you might want a little bit of exciting in your life. Yeah, it's it'll be a little bit of a reprieve probably from some of the. You said you watched some of our live stream last night, Austin? What you could?
Yeah, on the way home from the game, I saw it on Twitter and decided to plug it in. Mainly, I'm going to be honest. Mainly, I was like, "Where's Kyle?" Because he's not in his normal setup. Or you weren't in your car, like coming back from the
The mo-
game, like last week.
yeah, the mobile broadcast studios, I call it, aka my
Yeah,
car. I
yeah,
told them last night we need to come up with like location names for like, obviously E2C Network headquarters is what it is, but the mobile broadcast studio needs an official name. And then when I'm places like this, I've really only ever had to film in 3 places: all my car, my studio, and then make some semblance at the
yeah.
in-laws that I can. I'm in a different room because we are minus a few people. A room's opened up, so I'm able to spread my wings, so to speak. There felt like at times last night we should have done this during the game, right? Just
Yeah,
you know what this reference is from?
of course. Summon the angels.
Angels in the outfield, baby.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need. I've done that before in a game, and it was surprising. I mean, it was actually heartbreaking how few people got that reference. Times have changed, and you're much younger than me too. So the fact that you get it.
How much younger am I? What year did you graduate Auburn?
I took the long route. So I graduated high school in 2004. 5, excuse me, 5.
5. So I graduated high school in 14. So 9 years.
It's pretty significant there. Let's see here.
That's not what I thought it was. I thought you were a lot younger.
Yeah, I'm pretty old. Look at the hairline, man. Been hearing a rumor that Calzada's been having a bad attitude, and that's why he isn't playing. Doesn't seem like him. I hope that's not what's going on. It could be. I don't have any inside information. I don't know if Austin does. I mean, I don't really know what to make of that at this point. I just know that we need to rely on TJ and Ashford. And after last night, that seems a little bit scary at times, but also I think they both have shown promise. So
if Zach has a bad attitude and that's why he's not playing, my message to him would be, if you clean your attitude up, you might get to be playing very soon. So I'll just put it that way.
I was hoping we would get to see all 4 of them by this time, but neither the last game, the first game, just didn't go the normal route you would go to get some of those extra guys in because of the weather. Right. This time it's because we didn't handle business. So it is what it is. But we'll dive into a little bit of that, especially in the opening segment here for the recording. And I think we're about ready to do that. So we'll go ahead and kind of get that started tonight. So as a reminder, during the show, or the recording, which we'll count down in just a minute here, we will not be taking comments or questions unless we feel it's absolutely necessary. One of us brings it up. It'll just be us interacting and doing the show that way. I will be staying afterward for just a few minutes to catch up, answer any other questions or comments you guys might have, but we hope you enjoy watching this recording. We've enjoyed doing it ourselves. So trying to give you a more broad spectrum of Auburn stuff, obviously sports heavy, but we try to give you as much other things in there as possible. Austin, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's rock and roll, dude. In 3, 2, 1. David Housel said it best: the whole of the Auburn experience. Of course, it includes a lot of sports, especially good old Auburn football, even on days when Auburn football frustrates you to no end. Of course, it involves a university with its brilliance of academics, of course, that engineering school, but it goes beyond a school. It goes beyond the sports. It's about the entire experience that is encompassed within the state of Alabama, across the nation, and even international. And that is what we cover here on the Auburn Experience. Tonight, we're going to be talking to you about several topics within that Auburn Experience. Obviously, some things we'll have to make peace with about what happened. We got to win, by the way, in football. But we'll talk some about that a little bit and various other things throughout the show. The Auburn Experience, though, is always best when you do it with others. And that's why I've invited back. Well, I shouldn't say invited at this point. It's your show, too, Austin. Welcome back, Austin Scott.
Thanks for having me. Yep, War Eagle Kyle. Glad to be back and talking about, like, as you mentioned, the whole of the Auburn Experience. Looking forward to talking about this weekend a little bit. Upcoming, a big fun weekend for all of Auburn and those coming into Auburn this upcoming weekend, and any other happenings we end up discussing.
Can we just go ahead and address this? This part of the reason we did this show is because what we want to stress people is having a whole Auburn experience and not solely focused on the whims of a football program. Because if that's the case, you're going to be reacting a lot to like the people we saw, some people on our live streams on social media, and just losing your ever-loving mind when it's just confounding. And I admit it is confounding what happens. What we're referencing is the football team barely beating San Jose State in the second game of the 2022 season, 24-16. We're going to be talking about that in much more detail for part of the week here as we kind of close out that game and our analysis on Monday night and things like that. So we won't hit some, fine-tune type of discussions about the game, but we want to hit on that a little bit. Austin, would you care to offer your opinions on what happened last night?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's something Auburn people are not unfamiliar with, is that they played down to their opponent, and now they certainly have a history of playing up to their opponent too in certain situations, but they played down to their opponent, maybe overlooking them looking to Penn State, maybe just didn't take them quite as seriously as they should have leading up in practice this week, or maybe just a variety of different things could have happened. But Auburn played down to San Jose State, allowed them to be in the game pretty much the entire 4 quarters, and just made mistakes, self-inflicted mistakes that didn't help them. And then it showed. And thankfully, they were able to get out of there with a victory and come away unscathed in the big picture. But it's not unfamiliar, as you and I have talked about, and as we've seen before. Auburn has had a past of playing these smaller schools closer. And most of the time, they're able to escape and get away with it. It's been a while since really one bit them that I can remember. But yeah, just Auburn, it's a pattern, it feels like.
And I think you may have alluded to this. It happens in all sports, it seems like.
Right.
We can think of several examples in the past basketball season where a number one team had no business even allowing, a Georgia team taking them down to the wire in Athens. Just goes to show you that, anybody can play anybody on any given Sunday is the expression for football in the NFL. But yeah, this is just such a weird, novel concept. There are these like weird, superstitious things that always seem to revolve around Auburn football. We don't play well at the 11 a.m. games. We play down to our opponent. We play up to the opponent. Auburn, by all accounts, had no business competing in the Iron Bowl last year, right? I mean,
Right.
They had lost their starting quarterback. Their backup quarterback had not had a lot of action and was coming into the game somewhat injured and probably was more injured throughout the game. No business taking them to how was it, double overtime or triple overtime? I can't even remember at this point.
Just double, I think.
Double. No business being there whatsoever. I mean, I had to rely on a walk-on kicker to nail a 50-yarder to even stay in the game in the overtime matchup. So it's just confounding that these things continue to happen. And I want to point something out to you, and this is kind of scary, Austin, if we continue to play San Jose State. So that is our 3rd time playing them. The first time we played them, we actually did what you're supposed to do, right?
Right.
Wallop them. Last time we played them, I mean, the second time under Gus Malzahn, we had I think it was a 2-touchdown victory, something like that. This time, we'll just call it a 1 touchdown, even though it was 8 points.
Yeah.
So if you start doing the, math about the history of this series that's now somewhat being created, if it continues, I don't like our chances next time that we see San Jose State. So I'm all for leaving them off the schedule.
Frankly. Yeah, I'm in agreement. It might be best for both parties. They got to travel a long way, and let's just call it quits. We paid them their money, right? Let's take the wins we got and get out of here. But you're right. It happens to anybody and everybody. I think that was very evident yesterday. You saw, I'm not going to compare Auburn and say they're as talented as some of the top 10 teams who lost yesterday. But in this sport, any given Saturday, in this case, yes, somebody can get beat by somebody else. And thankfully, like we said, Auburn was not one of those yesterday and came away. But it took the whole 60 minutes.
Yeah, my goodness. Can I ask, did you ever truly doubt that the game was in question? I mean, I know that we were down 10-6 at the half, I believe is what it was. I can't remember exactly what it was. 7, sorry. Did you ever doubt that the game was in question? at all?
Not really. I just kept, it took longer than I thought, but I kept thinking that they'd eventually pull it out and get it together. I thought they
Mhm.
would pull away, and they really didn't. But and you have to give credit to San Jose State for that
Yeah.
quarterback was incredible. He played really well and made throws that, frankly, some of Auburn's quarterbacks cannot make at all. And so it was impressive. And but I thought Auburn would come away and win. It just took a lot longer than I had hoped.
So I want to, for just the sheer, this is a great way to start off a, positive podcast here.
Of
The
course.
sheer hilarity of some of the opponents that we've had to like go down to the wire with: Lamo, Utah State, San Jose State, now Jacksonville State. Am I
Yep.
missing any? Mercer. I think a lot of people
Mercer.
but the Mercer game we won by like 13 points or something like that. So to me, that's enough of a comfortable margin. Like this was
Are you counting last week?
no, not last week. I'm talking about the
Oh,
Mercer beforehand. Like I think it was 2017, Gus, where we
yeah.
actually had a good team. That one was
For some
somewhat
reason, I thought that
close.
was 3 points, but I'm probably remembering it wrong.
I could be wrong on it, but
I
the
remember a
point,
lot of turnovers.
yeah,
A
the
lot.
point still stands, right? You got
Yeah.
all of these states that you're playing. It feels like, especially San Jose State, Jacksonville State, Utah State. How we escaped Utah State after the championship year,
Yep.
I will never understand. Like that to me is almost more confounding than the prayer in Jordan Hare. And that's just being honest. Like the fact that we get the perfect bounce on a onside kick as opposed to, I mean, Georgia players, they can be sporadic, even as good as they're going as a program right now. And so
Sure.
it's within reason to see them not go down and knock a ball down on a Hail Mary. It's within reason to know that Alabama's going to have special teams misfortunes. An onside kick just doesn't ever work out for Auburn, it feels like. And somehow it did in that. But I'm going to just say this. I'm all for a little while us not playing any more states from the FBS category that aren't part of a Power 5 program, because it just doesn't seem to work out in our favor. And I don't know why that is.
Yeah. And well, with the conference realignment that continues to be the topic, and the playoff expansion that continues to be talked about, scheduling is thrown in there. Uh, I hate it because I think it benefits some of these schools financially
Yeah, it
for
does.
bigger schools to get the payout. But I think we're going more and more to seeing less of those kind of games. Maybe that's going to work in Auburn's favor, and they won't have as many opportunities to play down. But I think that we're going to see less of those anyway, for better or for worse.
I think if we could do that along with eliminating 11 a.m. games, which just
Yep.
be honest, folks, that's coming. My opinion is that this is probably going to be figured out within a matter of days now, because they usually figure it out 2 weeks in advance. The Missouri game is probably going to be a noon game, so just get ready, folks.
Yeah, that's
It's
got to be tomorrow.
It's coming at some point. That dreaded 11 a.m. kickoff, and with the way things seem to be rolling right now, that just seems like a great combination for right now.
With homecoming, it seems like a perfect matter.
Why would you schedule Missouri for homecoming? Why would you not put it Western Kentucky at the end of the year?
I mean, have they ever done it that late?
I mean, I guess not, but why not? I mean, it's your last game. I mean, I think we may have addressed this. I've talked so much Auburn stuff. We may have addressed this. The reason probably is because they don't want to take away from the seniors on senior day. But
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, could we at least, I would say Mississippi State, but we know we can't hold the lead against them. At least last year, we can't hold the lead against them. Never take your foot off the pedal with Mississippi State this year. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, we took a lot of tangents there on our opening segment, but in our second segment, we want to kind of take what we've discussed here and put away the frustrations that came from this weekend and playing down to an opponent, us kind of talking about that, and really maybe get excited for what's coming this weekend, and things to maybe help you prepare for, to anticipate things that we're learning, even, as the season goes on, that things that haven't worked. Can we let's start with this, Austin? Whoever did a rain dance or decided that they, has, God's ear and said, hey, I need some rain. Can you please stop it? I'm tired of this. I don't know about you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we could do with a little less rain on game day. That's 2 weeks in a row. One not quite as bad as the other, but let's have a dry day. We'll still take the nice weather. I'd still take some overshadow and some clouds, but
Yeah.
I could do without the rain. It looks like next weekend in Auburn we are going to get a little bit of a break. It looks like sunny with high of 85, low of 64. No, that I mean that could change, but that's something I
Right.
could deal with for a 2:30 kickoff.
Yeah, that 85, 4, 6, I've seen it bounce around there. Will probably
Mhm.
be more like a 90 feels like at a 2:30 kickoff.
Right.
But hey, I mean, that's better than it being at 95 and then feeling
Truth.
like 105, which was not too far from removed from the 2019 year where it was just scorching
Mm.
everywhere. So you have a point there, with every bad thing comes some, well, typically good thing. But I am all for no more rain. So be prepared. If you've decided I'm putting my money this season, 2022, into the Penn State basket, and why wouldn't you, right? It's the
Right.
most novel big game out there. Penn State's coming to Auburn. Can you recall without having to look it up? Has Penn State ever come to Auburn?
Oh, this is where we need our friend Clint.
Oh
I'm
no,
not
he
sure.
knows
Not
these
that I
things.
can remember at all.
Yeah.
I'm sure it has, or maybe a bowl game, but maybe they haven't come to Auburn. But like you said, I mean, this is the one people have been looking for tickets for this game since the minute last year's ended,
Yeah.
and so I think it'll be the one a lot of people choose to make the trip for.
Speaking of which, anybody got a ticket out there, please let me know. PSA for me, because either way, I will be on campus as I always, well, except for this weekend, I usually am, but I will be watching it from the student center. And the AC may not be so bad, when you guys are sitting in there getting a little bit toasty in the stadium. But Penn State coming to town, I know that there's obviously going to be a lot of people here, regardless whether you're getting to the game or not. It's the first big weekend. The weather looks like it will somewhat cooperate the entire day. Of course, now we've jinxed ourselves there. I would knock some wood, but the closest behind me, and I feel like there you go. Thank you. I feel like if I do anything other than this, for those of you that are listening, you can't see this obviously. I feel like I'm gonna mess my setup here on the road, so I'm not gonna exacerbate the situation any further. One of the, you brought this up to me. I almost completely forgot about it, and I probably would have known more about it had I been there. Was apparently with the age of digital tickets, there was a big snafu with the weather and that messing up the system somehow. You got any more information about what happened or what people were experiencing?
I really don't understand a ton of it. I just know that nationwide there was this issue with
Oh,
people.
nationwide.
Oh yeah, multiple games were affected. Nebraska's game, Penn State's game. Speaking of which, had issues with this platform that Auburn is one that uses. I think it's called GoFan, and
Okay.
people could not access their digital tickets. If you buy tickets from Auburn, single game season tickets, whatever, they email you the link, you download them, add them to your mobile wallet, and they scan. Now there's no more paper tickets unless specifically requested. And so that was an issue for a lot of people, and something that if you couldn't access your tickets, how are you getting in? Your scans don't work. So I was actually waiting for some friends right outside the stadium because I had all of our tickets this weekend and saw many people. That ticket office that you see a lot
Yeah.
right there at the front of the stadium that is like hardly ever used anymore. It was used this weekend. Lines for people, and they were printing tickets right there if you couldn't access them. So it was a big deal. So all that said, if you're going to the game, go ahead and add those tickets to your wallet. Don't worry about it because that was apparently the snafu. If you had added them before it went down, you're good. You're golden. But if you had not, and you were kind of going to do it on your way walking in, it was an issue. So go ahead and add them. This is where I'll get on my old man
Oh,
rant
please. I'm
here.
ready for this.
It's time. Paper tickets don't have digital outages and issues. And while we're on the topic of digital things, I don't know how many Auburn fans know this that might be coming in for the first time. There are no game by game paper programs this year, folks. There is one for the entire year called the 2022 yearbook, and there's a digital game by game program that you can scan with your smartphone and the QR code. So those of you who've been collecting them forever and have a whole stash of them, well, I'm sorry to tell you, you're just like me and won't have that option anymore.
You are a bitter old man.
It's just how many pennies do we need to cut here, Kyle? You know what I mean?
I get it.
But so yeah, all that said, Auburn moving digital, that causes some issues. Hopefully, I'm sure the people at GoFan have heard from countless ticket managers across the country this weekend after that issue, and hopefully it's not fixed. But make sure you've got all your digital assets in a row before you come to Jordan-Hare Stadium this weekend.
This is probably not the thing to promote and say, but because I even think they tell you when you get your digital ticket, download it into your wallet. Don't take a picture of it. I always do both. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, the picture one that I take works every time. The screenshot works every time.
Yeah.
I've never had an issue with it.
Yeah. The way it was explained to me, because it says, they were public about don't screenshot, don't use this. The way it was explained to me by a worker was they don't want you printing a screenshot of that.
Yes.
It's something different with it, but you are more than welcome to screenshot a ticket and still use that screenshot mobily to get in. I think Kyle's wise in doing both, and I would recommend
it's a backup.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you don't have service, sometimes your mobile wallet's hard to get to. But as I said it before, though, none of these issues are there. If you just have the paper ticket in your wallet, just pull it out, scan it, put it right back in. It looks a lot prettier, but I digress.
We'll have to have a segment now, old crotchety Austin segment, for you to rant about things that you don't like. I'll be honest with you. This is probably a good thing for me to not have to want /buy/grab after the game if there's one that's in good condition. Any more magazines or game programs, because I don't know that my closet can take them anymore. Jessica will probably scream at me if I bring one more piece of Auburn thing home. I did buy her for her birthday. Shout out to her. It was her birthday this weekend. An new Auburn sweater at the University bookstore. So I think that was okay. Maybe
there you go.
If it's for her Auburn stuff, that's okay. So yeah, just be aware of that has happened. We don't expect bad weather, but if you have not been back to Auburn since the onset of the pandemic and you're about to get into this digital age, be prepared. Kind of a weird shift here, but since we're just kind of getting you prepared for the weekend, not necessarily about the game itself, but just getting the full Auburn experience. It is now official, Austin, and it just popped into my head. Cheeseburger in downtown is going to be over at the end of this month. Did you see that?
I did see that. I was walking by it this weekend and I couldn't remember when the official day was because I saw it open, but it's the end of this month.
Yeah, I believe it is at the end of this month. I don't have the specific date either. For those of you that don't know, I do think Cheeseburger used to be a chain. Is that correct, Austin? Do you know?
Yes, I grew up with one in Birmingham.
But this one's been like a staple in Auburn. It's got this certain look outside. I mean, if you've been inside it, so I would suspect they're going to get flooded with business. It's going to probably be a hard ticket or just table to get, this weekend. But if you come in early, if you stay late on campus, there's a lot of things that are leaving downtown Auburn simply because they can't afford to be there anymore. There's stuff coming back, but it's not like it's becoming a desolate wasteland. You might want to, here's my thing. If there is something that is near and dear to your heart at Auburn and you're coming for game day weekend, don't hesitate. It'll be, maybe a few weeks and something else will pop up. Oh, we're tearing this down. Or like the Chick-fil-A was on Magnolia.
Right.
We're going away for a year because we have to let them build this high rise over us to give us the new building underneath, which was needed, but at the same time, Auburn is changing. And if you haven't been here in the last year, or if you haven't been here in the last few years, it can get quite confusing and frustrated to see some of the things that you loved are gone or are leaving.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot change. That's something my wife and I keep up with a good bit, just to know what's coming, what's going. We've talked about the new food hall last week on an episode. Check that out.
Yes, I've still got to do that.
That place is. We talked about Cheeseburger being flooded. I'd imagine the food hall is going to be really busy this weekend as well. So, yeah, definitely things to check out that are new and very good for Auburn, but different. So make sure to check out what you want to see and find something new to check out as well.
Yeah.
Kyle, you mentioned that just popped in your head. This is what on the go planning happens, I guess. Things are popping in my head.
This is what the show about, right?
That's right. We're just moving along, helping everybody get ready for the big weekend. It's an orange game. That it's wear orange, and as much as those people love their white at Penn State, let's show them a good orange game. And then also announced today, SEC Nation's coming to Auburn, Alabama.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's kind of one thing I wanted to make sure we talked about. Here's one thing that frustrates me about where they do SEC Nation, which is
Yeah.
right on the green space in front of the new nutrition center, which is basically it's for everybody, but the athletes' dining hall, essentially. It replaced the dining hall that I think used to be in old. Oh, Kyle, how are you forgetting this? The name of the old dorm that used to be where the big
Sewell.
Sewell. Thank you. Wow,
Yeah.
my
I'm not that
dad.
young.
My dad is who God rest his soul, is just rolling over in his grave right now and is ready to slap me,
My
for
dad's the
forgetting
only
it.
reason I knew it was Sewell Hall. So thank the Lord for our dads.
Exactly, right? Like if he were here right now, the fact that we walked past that place thousands of times and told me stories about Sewell Hall,
Yep.
like he would just I'm ashamed of myself. Anyway, SEC Nation is going to be in front of that green space right there, which is really small and tight. Now, they're going to be doing several shows starting Friday. Paul Feinbaum, you pick your poison if you want. Obviously, Marty and McGee, and then the SEC Nation show leading up their version of College Game Day. I hope that you guys, obviously, I will make some appearance over there as part of sharing the Auburn experience, but let's give them a good showing.
Absolutely.
Good weather. Yeah, we're a little all down on morale right now, even though we're 2-0, you wouldn't know it. Let's give them a good show. Let's make them understand why they chose to come here for this particular game. I bet they're going to get a good showing from Penn State fans. So I'm excited. There's just a lot for people to experience, and I'm happy to finally be back to these big game days on the plains and just experiencing that all again, because it just feels so good. Feels so good.
And Auburn fans usually do give that a good experience, right? At SEC Nation. Even I completely agree with you. I think that's a horrible spot to put it.
Very tight.
But the RVs are all right there in Beard Eaves lot.
Yeah.
Tiger Walk is not long after it ends, so it should, especially at a 2:30 game, it should be a good showing from Auburn fans. And let's make sure they want to come back.
Oh yeah. Final thought on that before we move on. If you want a spot at Tiger Walk, especially with that, what you just said, it being right close to that time, you better get there early and get your spot.
That's
because
right.
I'm going to have to get down there early too, now that I've just remembered. Let's put away football talk for just a minute, because as we've addressed throughout the show tonight, it's been a little bit frustrating, even being 2-0. We all love us some basketball, right? We all love Bruce Pearl, what he's done. Did it end the way we wanted to this last season? No, but boy, we had fun getting there, didn't we? First ever #1 ranking. Jabari Smith got snubbed from being the #1 overall pick, and it doesn't matter. He's still Jabari Smith, and he's the king of our hearts. And not to mention Walker Kessler, the team that's still there, the Israel. I mean, it has never been a greater time to be an Auburn basketball fan. Well, we're still a little bit of ways away, but they finally released the full schedule. And might I add, Austin, it was a little bit later than they normally do. Usually it's like at the very end of July, and we're sitting mid-September. Well, it was beginning of September earlier this week, and they released it. Basically, a month and a half when they normally do. So shows you that they've had some things that they've had to iron out in terms of getting finalized and stuff like that. So when you look at the schedule, I thought what we'd just do, not necessarily make a pick 'em or predictions unless you just want to. What's some stuff that sticks out to you from the full schedule, or more specifically the SEC schedule portion of it, because that's what was really the final piece of the puzzle?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that sticks out to me, well, there's a couple things. The first thing that sticks out to me is the first game. It's they've been doing this in the past. It's not, the SEC basketball schedule doesn't just start in the new year now. It's not, non-conference in 2022 and SEC in the following year, 2023.
Do you like that now they carry it over like that? Like it's not just, I used to personally like it being started on the new year.
I did too. And the main reason, and that's why I bring this up, is because students aren't back. And at Auburn, we know that makes a big difference. So that first game, Wednesday, December 28th, is Florida at home. And Auburn in Florida is always a close game. It's always a struggle for Auburn. Florida plays them really well. New coach this year, Todd Golden, Bruce Pearl assistant, who is definitely going to play them tough because they're both familiar with each other. Todd Golden, a good coach. And so no students there, not the normal student body there. If class is in session, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that one stands out. That's a big conference opener. I think the way Auburn basketball has been ingrained now in students and the experience is being a priority. There will be a good bit of students there, and Auburn will market that game very well.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have to worry too much about the atmosphere. But that's a big game to start. Arkansas is early on January 7th.
I think that's going to be the big one this year.
Massive. That will be the first game at home after class is back in session. So I think that will be good, or maybe class won't be back yet, but that's the weekend before student.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we get a Pearlville 2.0 maybe?
I'm saying you don't have Kentucky coming this year, so how about now any Kentucky fans?
But they're still, but Austin, didn't you forget they still show up for Kentucky, right? Like
That's
that's
right.
what I've understood. Nobody goes to a basketball game to see anybody other than Kentucky. Even if you're going to see Wyoming versus Alaska, you showed up for Kentucky. That's what I was told.
That's right. Yeah, well, we'll definitely be camping out for all these games that Kentucky isn't coming because we just want to see Kentucky. We're just so gosh darn happy about it. We're gonna make this the old crotchety man podcast.
It really has turned. I mean, I think that's the effect of what happened in the football game. But this is not the football segment, Kyle. So don't go that way.
No, my wife and I took a early walk. This is super tangent. We took an early walk this past Saturday on campus.
You are an old person.
I want to be that. I see the old couples walking around, they're back and they're just like, oh, I'm like, that's what I want to be. I want the orange pants up to my belly button and my paper. And man, I mean, is that just not the dream? All right. Anyway, the other thing I see on here is we usually get both of our Alabama games out of the way by mid-February. And we don't have one until February. And then the other one comes second to last game of the regular season. And oh, by the way, it's sandwiched in between a trip to Rupp Arena and the last home game or the last game of the non-conference when Tennessee comes to town. That's quite a stretch to end the year there, Kyle.
I saw this released, and because let me just paint the picture for people a little bit. Typically, at least lately, what they've been doing is they'll release what your home and away SEC schedule is going to be, not the dates specifically. So we kind of knew where the makeup would look like, just not how it would be arranged. And when you pull this thing up and you see it's Alabama, they can get good talent. You know, they can throw things together, except they'll just get to the NIT, it seems like, or just flame out in the NCAA. Of course, we did too. So I guess who are we to talk? But you go to Rupp Arena, that we would show up to see Kentucky at that one. That would make sense. And then
we would be required to. Yep.
And then Tennessee. Does the SEC office know something? Like, because the last time they decided it was a good decision to put Auburn and Tennessee, which it was at the end of the season, it was the defining game for the regular season title. Are we missing something here? Is there a signal that we're being sent for what is expected to happen in the SEC this year?
I mean, I don't know. I think the SEC, because that is one of Auburn's home and away opponents this year. They're going up to I can't remember the name of Tennessee State Arena at the moment. They're going up there. I know it. That's going to kill me.
Yeah, it's going to bug me the rest of the night. Thank you for that.
I don't know. Yeah. They're going up there, and Tennessee's coming here. Those games have been great and defining. And so I think that the SEC office probably has a little bit of interest in making sure that is a game, you know, everyone can look forward to all the way through the very end, right? And Auburn this past year won the SEC regular season on their last home game. They did it the same way in 2018 against South Carolina both times. So I think it's definitely a way for the SEC to continue to maintain interest, because those games are always going to have added value, especially for Bruce Pearl. We know what his interest is there. And so I just can't believe that last three games at Kentucky, at Alabama, and home against Tennessee, I don't doubt that Bruce Pearl will have our team ready for those games. But my goodness, that's a 3 to end on before you go in the NCC tournament.
Here's the thing that I am excited about. It's going to give us something to look forward to. And not that we don't have a lot to look forward to in basketball season. Maybe we're getting through this gauntlet that the SEC basketball league has become, and we're real beat up, and maybe we're not looking forward to. But right now, just kind of sitting back, knowing the talent that is still available at Auburn, I think there's a lot to be excited for that. I'm going to be old crotchety man for a second.
Here we go.
Clint, if you're listening to this, you already know where I'm going. Anybody who's been following my journey on this network forever knows what I'm about to say. Why on God's green earth would you ever put an arena where it is already raised up, but also you put the benches behind the goals? Vanderbilt, what is wrong with you? I hate you. I can't say it any other way. Like, it makes me angry. Like, I think it's worse than someone coming on my show and yelling RT to see that on TV. And we have to go to Vanderbilt this year and play in that monster. I would rather live in the plane hangar that is where Alabama plays basketball than go visit that monstrosity of a court. What? Like, who decided that? Who died and made you king and said, oh, guess what? I'm going to put it at the bottom of a baseline. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, that was a little.
It's a valid argument. And I don't know anyone that likes it from any of our.
I do. Clint Richardson likes it.
Well,
Clint Richardson's a barbarian. I said it.
That's ridiculous. I had no idea he liked that. That's absurd.
I think he likes it because he knows it bothers me so much. And that's a fair point on his part because I give him a lot of crap. So if he can just do something to irk me, I can't fault him for that. So that's, in fact, I would be worried if he wouldn't use that against me. So, yeah. But as you can tell, it makes me upset. So
I didn't know he likes that.
Okay, that's you're not going to get me started on that again. Only other thing that I would want to point out, obviously we don't have time for all this to go through the rest of the schedule and stuff like that. But remember, amongst SEC play is the Big 12 SEC Challenge, and I love this thing. It gets better for me every year, mainly because Auburn's being matched up with better and better opponents from the SEC because we're worthy of it now. It's not just Kansas and Kentucky. Well, it is every year, seems like, but we're getting West Virginia. Now, if you look at West Virginia, where they're at right now, it doesn't look great, but Bob Huggins, great program. Yep. My hope is that they kind of take an upswing before we get to this one, and that's just going to be, a great matchup, obviously in Morgantown, but still, I mean, I love the Big 12 SEC Challenge. It gets me excited every year, and I can't wait to watch that one again.
Yeah, I couldn't agree. And you brought up Coach Huggins. I think those Coach Huggins versus Bruce Pearl, those are two incredible basketball minds going at it right there. I think that's going to be fantastic. And we saw how well the Auburn family travels during basketball season this past year. I think that's going to be a game with similar intrigue that Penn State had during football last year. That you don't get that very often. And that's a place I think a lot of people are going to venture to. And yeah, I completely agree. The SEC Big 12 Challenge is a lot of fun, especially when you're competitive.
Well, here's the other thing too. Remember, folks, don't ever say that you don't have the opportunity to go see Auburn on the road because there are some major hubs. Auburn's going. You had your chance in Israel if you wanted to go over there. That's already done. You can go to Cancun for the Cancun Challenge. Right. You can go to LA for the USC game. You can go to Seattle to go see Auburn versus Washington to finally complete that home and home that started eons ago. You can go to Morgantown, West Virginia. You can go to Atlanta to watch them play. There's Memphis, I think we've got there, which is that's a good one. I'm really excited about that one. And then obviously all over the SEC. So don't say you don't have an opportunity to go see a team on the road. Atlanta, Seattle, LA, those are big hubs right there. You got plenty of opportunity to go see them. So
I completely agree with you. I'm just going to bring up the fact that you went Atlanta, Seattle, LA, Cancun, Morgantown, West Virginia. Which one of these does not belong? But if you want to do that, go for it.
I mean, basically in all of these places you see I was going to do that backwards. You see skyscrapers, you see business people and stuff like that. You go to Morgantown, you hear ding 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 ding. That's all you hear.
Banjos and couches on fire.
And I was going to make a really bad joke there, and I'm going to be an adult and not do that. And that's how we're going to end the show tonight. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Auburn Experience, where, yes, we talk about Auburn sports. Yes, we talk about the university. We talk about all of it within the whole of the Auburn Experience. My name is Kyle again. You can follow me on Twitter at TigerEye24 if you want to hit me up. Where can they find you, Mr. Austin Scott?
Austin G. Scott on any social media platforms. Would love to interact with you, and hope you'll join us crotchety old men again next week.
Yes, we will definitely have more crotchety men segments, but hopefully not too many because, well, no, we'll just have as many as we want because we're crotchety little men.
That's right.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right. So there's the recording, folks. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm going to release Austin if he needs to go, but you're more than welcome to stay, buddy. If you'd like to, I'm going to hang around for just a little bit and talk to some of the fine people that watched our broadcast again. So thank you, Devin, for the kind words. Do you want to stay or do you need to go, Austin?
I'm going to head out in just a second. I just wanted to go back up here to Devin and say she's trying Tumor's Lemonade for the first time this weekend.
Yes, I'm very excited for Devin. She has been growing in her Auburn fandom, and she's about to come here and experience the greatness that is Auburn. And there's,
Now,
I don't know if Devin and I are going to definitely find a way to meet each other, but I got to experience Dee Ford, her story, with her for her first visit to Auburn. You want to talk about it, re-experiencing why you love Auburn? Go with somebody for the first time and see it. Go to Tumor's Lemonade, go to Tumor's Corner for rolling, take them around the campus, take them to a football game, take them to these places to eat, introduce them to these people. Just like reunites the love for you again.
Yes. Now, Devin, here's going to be my advice at Tumor's Corner or Tumor's Drugstore for the first time. The big thing in the last few years has been to get flavoring in your Tumor's Lemonade, and it's very good. There's multiple flavors now. I've never seen so many at Tumor's Drugstore that you can get flavors added into your lemonade. My wife loves the peach lemonade. I had a raspberry lemonade this past weekend. Both very good. Here's what I would say is you can do both. At some point, just make sure you get original Tumor's Lemonade because there's nothing like it. I am not against the flavors. I think that's a great added bonus, but just make sure you have the original while you're here. Don't get too caught up in all the flavors. Just back to the basics, have the original, and then try another one.
So I'll say this, that the original, you want to try that definitely, but there's nothing like that strawberry lemonade because they put bits of strawberry in it. Now the rest, as far as I understand, are all just flavorings.
Yeah.
But you really get the real strawberries with the strawberry lemonade. And it sounds gross, but there's something about slurping up a piece of strawberry in the straw that just is oddly satisfying.
Yeah. Now the limeade too is, you'll see at Tumor's, they'll do the lemons, they'll squeeze it out and everything, and it's all legit. The limeade is just like that too. Like it's not lemonade with lime flavor. Like they will press the limes and squeeze it out. So that's very good too. A lot of people, I mean, that's 50-50 on limeade. I like limeade a lot, but it's a lot more sour. So,
yeah.
But regardless, Tumor's original lemonade. I can't fathom the idea of somebody having it for the first time.
You need to do the original.
So have an incredible time, and just drink to your heart's delight of Tumor's Lemonade.
The lemonade, not the other side of that.
I
not the hard lemonade.
How that was coming off.
I saved it for you. All right, Austin, I will release you to be an old crotchety man. So have fun with that.
It was a pleasure with you, my fellow crotchety man. Hope everyone has a great night. War Eagle.
All right, see you. War Eagle. All right, I'm going to stick around with you guys for just a few minutes. I know we've still got a few watching live here. So if you guys had some, bigger level questions or comments you wanted me to readdress or something that was happening during the live stream, please bring those up again. We had a pretty good crowd watching again, so I appreciate you guys watching live. It does obviously help the stream out and helps people find what we do here because, like we said, we're all about the full Auburn experience here. I'll give you, while we wait for some of those comments and questions, I'll give you a kind of a preview for this week. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m., grades breakdown show. My plan is for Ben King to join me again. We'll put away this monstrosity of a San Jose State game, and then we'll be done with it. Wednesday, Auburn Family live stream, 8 p.m. Central Time or Eastern Time. I'm on Central Time right now, Eastern Time. And then Thursday, we'll do our preview of the Penn State game, which I'm sure we'll get lots of Penn State fans to join in on with us. And I'm working on getting a Penn State voice to be on that show as well. And then I will be on campus, Tiger Walk live stream, maybe a locker room again. maybe a Spirit Mark. I'm so excited to be there for this game. Teddy from Texas, yes. And he's a Big Ten guy, which it always throws me off, but I'm finally starting to put this together with Teddy from Texas because he's from Texas, but he roots for the Big Ten. Go figure. And he's hanging out with us on an Auburn channel. I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to put piece of the journey together there. And I am really hopeful that we'll get some of those interesting fans from Penn State that stopped by last week. Big Ten needs the win. Terrible week for us. Yeah, it was. Don't think you're going to get it, though. I will be honest. I still feel very confident about the game, even after what I saw. I just don't think Penn State is ready for not just the Jordan Hare environment, but playing in the weather that it will be. It's 85 was what we talked about today in terms of the temperature. It's going to feel in the mid 90s though, in there in the stadium in that bowl with all the body heat. But I just think that the combination of all that's going to be pretty interesting personally. I love that you call it the Auburn Family Show. Well, that's what it is. If you're talking about the Wednesday night show, yes, it's all about the Auburn family. And I mean, honestly, this is an Auburn Family channel. There are, in becoming increasing by the day, podcast and YouTube channels galore, and I haven't really found one out there that doesn't do a good job at what they do. So you got lots of options, and so we try to offer you something a little bit different that we don't feel like a lot of people focus on. Yeah, I mean, we try to get some interviews with players and coaches and significant figures at Auburn from time to time, but we try to focus mainly on the Auburn family here. Penn State has 0 running game right now, but just wait. Auburn may allow them to have a running game. I don't think they will. There's one sure thing is that that front four, especially if Marcus Harris and I did this last night during the reaction show. A lot of our middle line do a lot better job of wrapping up and finishing tackles, especially with Derek Hall, Iku, Colby there already doing their job. Could be a rough night for them running the ball. So really, and they got the game plan for beating Auburn last night. Just slant routes right over the middle, tight ends right over the middle, which is what, a Big Ten team really does well, or at least they love to try to do. So I think when you look at the matchup, just kind of some early thoughts, there are weaknesses on both sides that play well to the strengths. It's basically you've got a loop of reciprocalness of strength and weaknesses playing for or against each other. It's going to make a really fun game and interesting matchup, in my opinion, frankly. I have time for a few more comments and questions, so drop those in. Just last couple of things from us. If you haven't, please do make sure you like the video here. It does help us out. Smash that like button. Tell a friend, invite them to be part of the show. Check out some of the links in the description, such as becoming a channel member here by hitting the join button. I'm working on, or at least I'm going to work on a new emoji to add to that. So you'll have access to that if you're a channel member. If you want to be a Booster Club member, which several of you are, thank you so much for helping us out each month. You get extra perks. There should be a blooper in there of a podcast for you guys to check out. Insights from when I'm on campus. If I ever get tidbits of information, which I do from time to time, that's in there. So all of that's there for you guys. Thank y'all so much for being here on another recording of the Auburn Experience show, and hope you enjoyed the banter and communication before and after the recording, and hope you'll come back next Sunday as we plan to do at 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern time to talk about the whole of the Auburn Experience. Until we talk to you again, for myself and for Austin,